Picture this. You're standing in the middle of a sea of 60,000 people. The stadium lights go dim. The Florida night air is thick and warm, but not because of the weather. Then, from the darkness of a stage that stretches out like a massive tongue into the crowd, one figure steps forward. Long blonde hair catches the light. The spotlight locks onto every move. And then, the opening notes of Bepsi explode through the speakers. But wait, there's no choreography. None of those sharp, rehearsed movements drilled into muscle memory over months in a practice room. What there is Jimin, moving however he wants. Wild, free, pure. And those 60,000 people? Completely hysterical. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, make sure you hit subscribe, because this is exactly the kind of content we cover here. And for those of you who've been here a while, you already know what we're getting into today. Yeah, we're talking about the moment that trended worldwide in under 24 hours. We're talking about Jimin, the BTS World Tour Arang in Tampa, and one freestyle performance that made the entire K-pop world, honestly, the entire music world, stop dead in its tracks and say, before we get into the main event, let's set the stage, because context matters here, and this story is bigger than just one dance. The BTS World Tour Arang is BTS's first world tour in nearly 4 years. All 7 members served their mandatory military service in South Korea beginning in 2022. And now, in 2026, they are back, and this is not just a comeback. This is a resurrection. Their 7th studio album, also called Arang, dropped on March 20th, 2026. And almost immediately, the world started shaking again. The title isn't just a title. For Koreans, Arang is the most iconic folk song in the country's history, a symbol of the soul and resilience of an entire nation. BTS took that, wrapped it in modern music, and turned it into a declaration. We're home, and we brought everything with us. The world tour kicked off its North American leg right here in Tampa, Florida. Raymond James Stadium, home of the NFL's Tampa Bay Buccaneers, with a capacity of 75,000, was chosen as the opening venue. For 3 consecutive nights, April 25th, 26th, and 28th of 2026, the stadium welcomed approximately 60,000 fans each night. Try to wrap your head around that scale. According to the Tampa Bay Times, roughly 180,000 fans flooded into the city of Tampa across the 3 concert dates. Tampa Bay Boulevard in front of the stadium was closed off entirely. The official BTS merchandise tent was set up as early as April 22nd, 3 days before the first concert. Fan cams, photo booths, massive murals at Tampa International Airport. The entire city transformed into a BTS universe. And in the middle of all that chaos, there was one name that kept coming up even before the first night began. Jimin. If you haven't heard the term Jimin America before, pay attention, because it matters. Jimin America, written in fandom spaces as a mashup of Jimin and America, is a nickname that grew organically among fans in the United States to describe just how extraordinary Jimin's popularity is in the American market. This isn't just fangirling. This is a measurable, documentable phenomenon. On every single night in Tampa, whenever Jimin's face appeared on the giant stadium screens, the crowd noise jumped several decibels above the baseline. Every time his name was announced, a wave of screaming swept through the stands. And the fans knew it. They prepared a support project to match the scale of the moment. For all 3 days of the concert, massive LED trucks, the kind normally used for advertising on city streets, circled around Raymond James Stadium, displaying photos and video clips of Jimin. Not one truck, not 2, a fleet, rolling all day long, greeting their king. Local and international fan sites pooled their resources together. The project was organized by fan communities stretching from California to New York, with financial contributions from fans in Indonesia, South Korea, Brazil, and the Philippines joining in from thousands of miles away. That's the power of ARMY. They don't need to be there in person to show up. And Jimin? Jimin took the stage on the first night with his signature flowing long blonde hair, radiating an aura that fans have been describing as a god who descended to Earth. He opened with Hooligan and Run BTS, wearing a new outfit slightly brighter than the costumes that earned him the nickname Northern Duke in earlier tour stops. a tiny detail that thousands of Twitter and Instagram accounts immediately began dissecting. But that was just the opening act. The moment everyone would be talking about, it hadn't arrived yet. Alright, here we go. This is the part you came for. April 28th, 2026. The final night of BTS's Tampa run. This was not an ordinary night. This was the closing night, the climax, the night where everything had to land perfectly. Midway through the set list, there was a slot designated for what the show calls an impromptu song, a track chosen on the fly, not locked into the regular running order. The pick for that night was Bepsi, also known in English as Silver Spoon. For anyone who isn't familiar, Bepsi is a BTS track from 2015 with a razor-sharp social commentary about a younger generation that works its heart out but keeps getting pushed down by a system designed against them. The song has explosive, swagger-filled energy, and it's usually performed with tight, powerful, structured choreography. But that night, Jimin did something different. Instead of following the existing choreography, he went freestyle, moving purely on instinct. No rules, no structure, no script. And that's when everything shifted. Imagine being in those stadium stands. You've been on your feet for 2 hours. Your legs ache. Your voice is already wrecked from screaming. And suddenly you realize, wait, those aren't the usual moves. He's improvising. Jimin worked the entire length of the stage. The extended catwalk stage, stretching deep into the crowd like a giant runway, became his canvas. He reached every corner, locking eyes and connecting with fans in different sections of the stands, his gaze communicating across distances of dozens of meters. His movement? Extraordinary. There were moments where he rotated his body with a softness that seemed almost physically impossible for a stage that size. There were precise body isolations. There were small surprises, unexpected pauses, transitions that flowed like water, that had the crowd alternating between holding their breath and erupting into screams. Fans who were there noted it immediately. The energy inside that stadium spiked in a way that felt different from anything before it. It wasn't just the usual hysteria. There was something strange and intimate about it. 60,000 people, and yet somehow, it felt like Jimin was dancing just for you. Fancam footage shot from different angles of the stadium started spreading across social media within minutes of it happening. And the result? In under 24 hours, the related hashtags were trending on X, formerly Twitter, in the United States. Those videos racked up millions of views. Comments poured in across a dozen languages. One of the most retweeted comments of the night read, "Jimin freestyles in a 60,000-person stadium like he's practicing alone in front of a mirror. His body control is not real." And honestly, that says it all. But hold on, the Bepsi freestyle wasn't the only thing that went viral that night. There was another moment that spread just as fast, and this one wasn't about dancing at all. It was about a single word that slipped out unexpectedly. During the Permission to Dance segment, Jimin prepared to perform the extended version of the song, the version with an additional outro and a special choreography section. But suddenly, the backing track that played was the standard version, no extended outro. The camera caught Jimin's face the exact moment he realized it. First, a flicker of confusion, then a small smile starting to form. Then he stopped completely, stood there on stage, and without thinking, let a profanity slip out in English. The stadium exploded, not in anger, in a mixture of laughter and screaming that shook the rafters. The clip of Jimin's reaction quickly took on a life of its own. His micro-expressions, surprise, realization, disappointment, then laughing at himself, were analyzed frame by fans. Many said it was one of the most human and endearing moments they had ever witnessed from an idol on a major stage. For a lot of fans, that moment actually reinforced exactly why they love Jimin. Behind all that perfection, there's someone genuinely real, someone who can laugh at a small mistake, who doesn't hide behind a rigid mask of professionalism. He's real. Now let's talk numbers. Because a moment without numbers is only half the story. After the final Tampa concert, Jimin immediately became the top trending individual male in the music category on X in the United States. Not just trending, the most trending, above every other active artist at that moment. Fancam videos of the Bepsi freestyle from various accounts hit millions of views in an extraordinarily short amount of time. Some videos posted by Korean fansite accounts even drew comments from users who had never touched K-pop before, people who simply stumbled onto the video in their feed and couldn't look away. The professional dance community responded too. Several choreographers and dancers active on TikTok and Instagram created breakdown videos of Jimin's freestyle moves, explaining the technique and skill underlying his improvisation. One of them pointed out that the ability to fill a large stadium stage with pure freestyle, no pre-planned blocking, no floor markings, no pre-rehearsed visual coordination, is something that even highly experienced professional dancers find genuinely difficult to execute. Beyond social media, international music outlets picked up the story. Several major K-pop news portals used phrases like "stage genius" and "stage master" to describe Jimin's Tampa performance. These aren't labels invented on the spot. They've been circulating in fan communities for years, but Tampa felt like undeniable, irrefutable new evidence. All of this happened before BTS even moved on to their next shows in El Paso, Texas, on May 2nd and 3rd, 2026. As a channel with viewers tuned in from all over the world, we have to mention this, because the global ARMY presence at Tampa was something else entirely. Among the thousands of accounts that helped the Tampa moment go viral, fans from Indonesia, the Philippines, Brazil, the UK, Australia, and across Southeast Asia were front and center. International fan communities on Telegram and Discord erupted with recordings and analysis. Several fans who happened to be living in the United States and were lucky enough to attend in person shared their experiences online, and some of those stories were genuinely moving. One account wrote, "I've been waiting 4 years for this. When Jimin started freestyling and the entire stadium went absolutely wild, I cried without even realizing it." That's the side of this concert that no camera fully captures. It's not just about Jimin. It's about 60,000 people who each walked into that stadium carrying their own story. 4 years of waiting, moments lost during a pandemic, longing held in check through a military hiatus, and all of it finally breaking open in one night, in one freestyle, in one accidentally hilarious and censored word. The title of this video promised to tell you what happened next. So let's get into it. After Tampa, BTS continued the North American leg of the Arang tour to El Paso, Texas. From there, the tour is set to continue through more American cities, then move into Europe and Latin America, making it one of the biggest world tours in K-pop history by almost any measure. For Jimin specifically, the momentum coming out of Tampa has set the bar extraordinarily high for every city that follows. Fans at each new venue are already wondering, will there be another freestyle? What kind of impromptu moment will we get this time? And that's the best thing about Jimin as a performer. You never know exactly what you're going to get. That's what makes him impossible to replicate, impossible to predict, and always worth watching again and again. Beyond the tour itself, the world is waiting. Will there be a new Jimin solo release? Will there be a documentary born from the Tampa concerts? Will any international collaborations emerge from the enormous exposure this moment generated? We don't know yet. But one thing is certain. After Tampa, Jimin's name has been carved one layer deeper into the story of global music history. So that's the full story, from the background of the tour, to the Jimin America phenomenon, to the Bepsi freestyle that stopped the world, to the ripple effects still spreading across your social media feeds right now. If there's one thing to take away from all of this, maybe it's this: real artistry doesn't need a script. Jimin walked onto that stage without planned choreography, and that's exactly where he showed himself most completely. Most real, most Jimin. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, drop a comment, and share it with your fellow ARMY. And let me know in the comments, if you were in Tampa that night, or if you watched through a fan cam, what was the moment that gave you chills? I reply to every comment on day one. See you in the next one. Stay purple, Purple Heart.